and welcome back to Gregtech. New Horizons. How's your guys' day been? Good? Let me know down in the comments below. So last episode we got ourselves our UEV circuits, the BioWare mainframe. With this now we've unlocked some new recipes like the integrated ore factory and the UHV field generator. And using this now we finally finished crafting the ultimate capacitor. Oh my god, this took forever to craft, but it's finally finished now and we can install it into our LSC. We also got ourselves Kevlar set up last episode. We didn't really go too deeply into it. There's just so many chemicals in here, so I just prepared all of the machines and time-lapsed myself placing everything in. The slowest part of this whole system is polyurethane resin, and I can't upgrade the energy hatch any further than it is right now. We're running at 16 amps of UV, mainly because I don't really have a proper way of sending power over here. Right now, I'm just using some ZPM energy hatches with a Tesla cover to provide power to this. So yeah, I need to install a UHV capacitor into this guy to have even better overclocks here. We also got ourselves the next tier of Naquata Fuel Mark III. It did require a whole new multi-block, the Naquata Fuel Refinery, and oh my god, is this powerful. Mark III Naquata Fuel is so nice, but Mark IV is going to be even better, but we can't get that just yet. We can actually make it. We don't actually have enough supplies to run it indefinitely, so yeah, until after the space elevator, we're going to be sticking with Mark III for the time being. But even still, like, each one of these Naquata reactors now generate just over 104 million EU. So I set up the 8 of these, and they're all generating power. And then I said I was going to tear down the other ones, and I have, and I've built these 16 over here. And in total, we now generate just over 2.4 billion EU. That is so much power. So let's go ahead now and install our ultimate capacitor. So what I have right here is a duplicate slice of one of the slices inside of the LSC, because I need to install it inside here, but I don't want to break 2 blocks because this thing will probably deform. So the easiest way I found to do it is we're going to use our matter manipulator. We're going to go to set mode, moving, mark cut, select 2 opposite corners, mark paste, shift right click this block right here, so it places it inside, and then hold shift and hold right click. And then boom, the ultimate capacitor is now installed. And if we look down here, our capacity has jumped from like 30% down to 0. And it's going to take 7 years to fill. This thing has such an incredible capacity. If we scan the controller here, 9 quintillion EU. That's how much capacity this thing has. That is so much power that this thing can store. Oh my god. And then when we have multiple of these guys in different LSCs, yeah, there's going to be some serious power stored around the place. But yeah, so you can see we're generating 2.4 billion EU. And even with Mark IV, I don't even think we'll ever fill this guy. Because we'll probably be slowly upgrading this thing. Then again, actually, no, we won't really need to. Unless we're going for more capacity. Because the cool thing about the wireless mode in this guy is there is no upload rate. There's no limit. So we can freely upload as much power as we want. But there is a limit to downloading power, and that is limited by the actual ultimate capacitor. So it says in here, supports up to 10 trillion or billion, that's billion. So 10 billion EU of wireless download. So every 5 minutes, this guy here is going to try and rebalance against the wireless network if we had wireless mode turned on. I'll just read the tooltip. So in here it says wireless mode can be enabled by right-clicking with a screwdriver. This mode can only be enabled when you have a UHV plus capacitor in the multi-block. When enabled every 6,000 ticks, which is 5 minutes, the LSC will attempt to rebalance against your wireless EU network. If there is less than 60 trillion EU in the LSC, it will withdraw from the network and add it to the LSC. If there is more, it will add all excess EU to the network, removing it from the LSC. This could potentially brick your base. Be careful. Yeah, I have no idea what that means. I don't understand how this thing can brick your base because it only uploads excess of 60 trillion. So every 5 minutes, there's always going to be at least 60 trillion EU inside this LSC. So yeah, I don't know what that means. I'm only assuming is if it's using power and the next second, all that power just gets taken away. It could cause an issue and then shut down a few machines, but I don't think that can happen or will happen. So yeah, I'm not sure. But so essentially, when we install another one somewhere else, every 5 minutes, it will try and download 10 billion EU into that LSC if there's space available. If not, it's going to upload anything that was extra of 60 trillion. But yeah, that's fine. So in here, there's a button wireless mode, it gives you that same warning. So potentially brick your base. You need to make sure you read the tooltip. Yeah, that won't appear again. We're not going to enable it just yet. We're going to wait till we have more than 60 trillion EU. We're currently sitting at 10.8 trillion. So yeah, we'll come back to this now. And also there is a command to see your wireless network. It's /GT global energy display and then your username. And it'll show you how much EU is in your wireless network. And this wireless network has an infinite capacity. So yeah, this is really, really nice. Also, this command, you need to be opt on a server. If you're running a server, you need to have permission level 4. By default, gtnh comes with the permission levels of 2. So it took me a while because I kept getting like, you do not have access to this command. I eventually found someone on the gtnh Discord saying you need to upgrade your permissions. So if you're running on a server, update in your server properties file, permission levels to 4 instead of 2. And I think once you have cheats enabled in a single player world, it'll work anyway. So yeah, just in case you couldn't get the command to work, that's why. So what is the plan for today? Well, if I want to craft myself a second UHV capacitor, which I can almost do, I'm just missing like 9,000 phosphorus dust, which I actually turned all my phosphorus into phosphoric acid by accident, but we do need that. But all this phosphorus is actually used in making indium gallium phosphide, which is used for making wafers in an LCR. So yeah, that's kind of expensive. But if we can do the Beamline, which is what I want to do right now, we should be able to cut the cost of indium, because if we look at how much indium this thing is going to cost, 98,000 indium. I barely have that much. I think I've just surpassed 100k because I've been doing a few meteor rituals, but oh my god, that is so much indium. And if I were to start this recipe now, we'd be wasting so many resources. So today we're going to be doing the Beamline to hopefully cut down on the cost of crafting wafers. And from what I've seen from this thing, it is incredibly fast. And it can get even faster than the way I'm going to be setting up right now, because we're limited by how much power we can provide to this guy. But yeah, so you can see I've been doing a lot of work since last episode. I've built this entire area right here. This is going to be where the Beamlines are. We're going to have 5 of them because there's 5 different types of recipes you can run through these guys to cover all of the wafer crafts. So yeah, we need 5 Beamlines. Don't mind what's going on over here. I'm planning out the mega factory. This would be like where we have our DTPFs, nano forges, mega auto crafting, probably back there. And then over here, I'm planning out where the space elevators are going to go, because I think next episode, we're finally going to build ourselves our first space elevator and get space mining set up, because I really need to get resources coming in. I'm actually getting sick of going out into different planets and setting up ore drill plants. So I really need to get like a centralized location to generate resources, which is also something I wanted to talk about as well. Do I do bees? I've been wanting to do bees for a while, but I haven't really done anything about it. And we're so late into the game now. Is it worth it? It probably doesn't matter. Like, it probably would be worth it anyway. But let me know what you think. Should I do bees or not? I might even do like a community poll. So keep an eye on the community tab. But let me know down in the comments what you think. Should I do bees or not? But anyway, so back to this guy here. The Beamline consists of 4 multi-blocks. You have yourselves the source chamber, the linear accelerator, which has varying different lengths, which energizes a particle to a certain amount. Then you have a synchrotron, which I believe spins that particle around to generate light, which I think is a photon. And then a target chamber, which uses that beam of light to engrave wafers using a mask. So engraves wafers using particle beams and masks. So if we look at the recipe in here, you can see like right now for us to make integrated logic, I believe we're using this recipe right here, which only makes 8 at a time. If we were to use this recipe inside the target chamber, it'd be making 128 at a time. That's only for 1 wafer. Like, that is so many wafers that we can make. So yeah, this thing is going to be amazing. So the first things to do is set up the source chamber. So let's grab out everything here and build it. It is fairly simple, and everything I'm doing right here is explained on the wiki. I tried to understand the wiki. I do not understand it at all. There's so many equations on it. I don't get it. I've tried to understand it. Yeah, I'm just going to follow what the wiki says, because on the wiki there is a link to a spreadsheet that is a calculator to for you to input variables and tells you what wafers you'll get, but it already came preloaded with a configuration setup. So there is 5 of them. So this one here is going to be a length of 19. This one here is going to be a length of 23, 25, 45, and 81. Yeah, this one's very, very long. So yeah, we're going to be starting with this one and then I'll build the rest. So first up, source chamber, which looks like this. And the source chamber has 4 inputs. You can either have uranium-238, which generates thorium-234 and an alpha particle. That is useless to us. California makes a neutron. That is useless to us. I don't believe this has any use. No, it doesn't. And then tungsten and long lanthanum hexaboride. They both generate an electron, which is what we want, but each one has different variables. Like each one has different energies and focuses and rates. Yeah, I don't know what any of this means, but the best material to use is long lanthanum hexaboride. Long lanthanum hexaboride is kind of complicated to make, but I have a setup for it, so it's not too bad. You need to make this flawless lanthanum hexaboride, which is made in an autoclave using lanthanum oxide and boron trichloride. Lanthanum oxide is lanthanum chloride and water. Lanthanum chloride is just lanthanum dust and hydrochloric acid. The boron trichloride is boron trioxide dust, which is just boric acid, which is just borax and hydrochloric acid. And phosgene is just carbon monoxide and chlorine. And phosgene we're already using as part of our Kevlar line. So, oh yeah, speaking of Kevlar, look how much we're up to now. 354,000. Yeah, this is amazing now. Circuit boards are so cheap to make. I can't wait till I get the nanoforge to unlock parallels. But anyway, so back to the source chamber. Yeah, we're going to be using long lanthanum hexaboride rods. So the structure for this guy looks like this. It is a 5x5x6 and it is fairly simple. Inputs go in the front, the beam comes out the back, and he requires a certain energy tier. So according to the spreadsheet, the only thing I adjusted on that configuration storage, if you were to check out the spreadsheet yourself, is the coolant. I changed the coolant from liquid nitrogen to all supercoolant. So the energy this one here requires is going to be IV power. So we're going to build this guy right here. So the controller is going to go there. And then we're going to grab out our hologram projector and build it. Here we go. So the only things we need to adjust here now is the energy hatches. Doesn't look like I placed anything else down, so that's fine. So IV, energy, and auto taping maintenance. So maintenance is on the right, energy is on the left. And I'll explain all the energy setup now in a moment. But yeah, so that's connected now. It's not actually powered right now, so this is fine to connect. So next up then is the Linac. So the Linac has, of course, varying lengths. It is very, very long, and it only goes up to tier 32 in any eye, but the one we are actually going to be doing is 81 length. So I actually need to have this at a tier 62. So yeah, if you are trying to build this using a hologram projector, you need to hold 62 of these guys. And the cool thing is when you actually place this down and right click it with a hologram projector, it'll tell you what the length is that it'll craft. So this one is a length of 19 blocks, tier 1, which is what we want for the first setup. So the only thing I need to adjust in here is glass tier 4, because on the front where the laser is going to be coming in, instead of shielded accelerator glass, it's going to be LUV glass. It can be any tier of glass, but I'm going to go with LUV because, well, this one here says LUV beam, so it fits. So all we have to do now is just hold right click and let it build. There we go. And the maintenance hatch I heard on the left because the power is coming in on the right. So this guy here is going to be powered with LUV. So looking at all of the setups quickly, the first 2 source chambers are both going to be powered at IV, and the other 3 are all going to be powered using LUV. The first Linac is going to be powered with LUV. The second one and the third one are both going to be powered at ZPM. And then the other 2 are going to be powered at UHV. So I have some infinity wire running back here. So yeah, these things are going to be very, very power hungry. So that's this one built. So next up then is the synchrotron. So the synchrotron is a massive multi-block. I think this might be the biggest multi-block we've built so far. So yeah, this thing looks insane. So let's grab out everything we need. And I've already got one of the blocks placed right here. So if we right click it, this is the structure. So we're going to be inputting down here and we're going to be outputting up here. So yeah, this thing is going to be very tall as well. So let's remove this cobblestone. You know what? I'm actually going to move the whole chest over here. It just makes it easier. So the only things we need to adjust in here is make sure we're on glass tier 4. And it also has an antenna. So the antenna, we want to make sure it's tier 2. The antenna does something with the focus of the beam. I'm not entirely sure. So we're just going to use the best one, which is tier 2. So if we just hold shift and right click now, this thing will build. And there we go, it's built. And the maintenance hatch is on the left there. So I can put everything else away for the time being. And next up now is the target chamber. And actually looking at the ingredients I have for the target chamber, I'm missing a few blocks. So the structure for this guy is fairly similar to the source chamber. The only difference is this guy here has a focus input bus. This is where the masks will go that are used to engrave the wafers. And then an input bus, and this is where the wafers will go. And then on top, we have an output bus, but we're going to use an ME output bus because we want this to go directly into the ME system. And then right here is the input hatch. So to build this guy, we're going to take out everything here. we're going to grab our controller, our projector, and we need to adjust one thing, and that is place the controller one block away from this one, and we want to flip him upside down so he's facing down the way and away from us. Now, if we right click, you can see this is the structure. So at the back right here, we're going to have our input for the masks, input for items, and then output for items. So let's go ahead and build this guy. There we go. And now for the actual energy and maintenance hatch, they're going to go on the furthest corners on the bottom left and right. So auto maintenance hatch on the left here. And as for the energy hatch now, what type of energy can this guy use? Well, looking back here at the recipes, you can see the voltage it says is EV. And there is no need to go any higher than what it says in NEI. You don't get any speed boost or overclocks. The speed of the recipe engraving actually comes from the synchrotron. And just to show what we're going to be using to power this guy, we're using 4 256 amp laser UV hatches. So there's 2 on the top and then 2 on the bottom. And I have all of the cables ready to be ran up the way. So yeah, this guy is going to be very, very power hungry. So for this guy, we're going to have a look here again. The highest tier of recipe it can use is LUV. And there's only like 4 or 5 recipes that use LUV. So what we're going to do is 3 of them are going to be running at EV and the last 2 are going to be LUV. So this guy right here is going to be an EV energy hatch. And he should construct now. Might need to update. Yeah, there we go. So that is built now. So I'm going to go ahead now and build the other 4 and connect everything up to power and AE. And then I'll explain everything. And there we go. The other 4 beamlines are built. So everything now is connected to the ME system and to power. So let's go over how everything is connected. If we come down below everything, we've got 3 mega vacuum freezers because each one of these guys are going to require coolant. Well, mainly just the synchrotron and the Linac. They're going to require supercoolant to run. And when they're running, they're going to be outputting hot coolant. So I have 3 mega vacuum freezers down here to turn that hot coolant back into regular coolant. And I have a fluid subnet right here. So I have 16 384K ME fluid cells. One's partitioned for supercoolant, the other one's hot supercoolant. And right now I'm storing 20 million supercoolant. So all of these wireless connectors go to each different Linac. So if I come up here, you can see the wireless connector goes down below. This is an output hatch with a 16K fluid cell because each one of these guys do have voiding mode enabled by default. So if this thing makes more hot coolant than the output buffer can handle, it will just void it and we'll be losing supercoolant. So I increased the buffer to make sure we don't have that happen. And then a stocking input hatch right here is just stocking the supercoolant. So that's how this one's getting supercoolant. The synchrotrons then are getting their supercoolant from top and bottom. So we have a subnet connection on the bottom. So if we come down here somewhere, this thing is so hard to navigate. We have a stocking input hatch right here with supercoolant, and then same thing, output with 16K fluid. So there is input on top and bottom. So everything is being provided with supercoolant now, and everything is being powered now using lasers and UV 256 amp laser target hatches. So everything is connected and powered. As for where the power is coming from at the moment, I just have an infinity cable running from our other LSC over here, connected to this dynamo hatch. There are so many UHV dynamo hatch connections on this thing, so yeah, this thing should have enough power, hopefully, to run a few recipes. So coming out the back right here is a 1000 amp UV, which goes to power the vacuum freezers. And then coming out the left right here is a UHV 4000 amp source hatch, which then goes into 4 active transformers. Each one of the active transformers, of course, have 4 outputs, and they go up to the synchrotrons, except for this one here that has, what, 8 outputs or something? Yeah, this goes to this synchrotron because it's in the wall. And I just learned recently, you can actually put ME covers on pipes. I don't know if I did that before or not, but yeah, this is pretty cool. So it allows me to hide the laser pipe in the wall here. Very nice. And then, yeah, right here, stocking input supercoolant. So everything is connected. Everything should have power once I turn on the active transformers. The Linac and the source chambers are getting powered through this superconductor wire. This is a 64 amp one. So we're down-stepping power to the IV ones for the 2 source chambers. Then this goes up to one of the Linacs. And then over here, we're up-stepping power to power the other 2 Linacs at ZPM. Then this one goes to power the source chambers at LUV. And then over here, we have an infinity wire to power the Linacs at UHV. And that comes from this UHV dynamo hatch right there. And then also, we have a 16 amp LUV dynamo hatch right here. That goes all the way up to power the target chambers, and the first 2 here are being powered at LUV, and then we're transforming down to EV to power the other 3. So that's how everything is connected to the ME system and power. So as for our recipe inputs, that's going to be done up here. So I have a connection to our mainnet right here, and it's very similar to how we set up our assembly lines. We're going to have 2 dual kissing interfaces. I forgot the blocking card. So we're going to put a blocking card in the subnet side, blocking mode enabled, and the mainnet side, blocking node enabled. So right here, we're going to have a cable run down to the focus input, and each one of these guys here are going to get an ME storage bus, so super bus storage, and then focus bus storage. And I bookmarked all of the different masks we're going to need. There is a few recipes. So the 19 length one is going to be making integrated logic, random access memory, simple SoCs, ultra low power ICs, and low power ICs. The second one is going to be making SoCs, qubits, nano CPUs, power IC, central processing units, NAND, and NOR. Then the third one is going to be making advanced SoCs, high power ICs, and ultra high power ICs. And then the fourth one, nano power ICs, PPIC, crystal processing units, and crystal SoCs. And the final one then is QPICs, advanced crystal chips, and living crystal chips. We have not seen living crystals before, but yeah, we can make them now. So yeah, so in here, I want to filter the input for only the masks we want to use. So this is going to be integrated RAM, SoC, low power ICs, and ultra low power ICs. So that is those masks filtered. So whenever the recipe gets entered into the subnet, this is where the masks will be stored. As for wafers, we're going to be using americium wafers. So that is going to be stored in here, like so. So to give the subnet some power, we're going to have quartz fiber right there with an ME cable. And this guy is more or less ready, just about. There is one thing we need to do, and that is redstone control the source chamber. So the source chamber needs to be running with the long lanthanum hexaboride rods, generating neutrons, sending them through the LINAC into the cyclotron up to the target chamber. But we can't have that guy turned on all the time, or he'll just be wasting energy and these rods. So we're going to redstone control it, but to do that, we're going to use a level emitter on the subnet side, and we're going to set this to level emit when it's above 1 with no item filter, meaning it's going to check for any items inside the superbus. So for example, I'll put the rods in here, boom, redstone signal. Take out the rods, redstone signal stops. So what will happen then is we'll have a redstone alloy here. We'll have it go into a wireless transmitter. This be set to frequency 100. Nothing should be on 100. I think all the arcane boards up there are on frequency 10. And any wireless connectors we have for the water line, I think are on 1,000 plus. So yeah, nothing should be close to 100. So what will happen then is we request an item. It'll put the items in. This thing will say, hey, we got a craft, sending the signal down to the source chamber, telling it to turn on. Once the recipe is finished and there's nothing left, it's going to turn off the redstone signal, telling the source chamber we're done. So to connect this guy up for redstone control, we're going to need a machine controller cover on the bottom. Then we're going to need ourselves our wireless receiver and some red alloy. That's going to go across here. There is an output bus on the bottom, but there's no outputs for items on this thing. So yeah, this is not going to generate anything. And anyway, if there is anything, I don't need it. So void mode is enabled by default. So here, wireless connector, 100. And the last thing to do now is actually connect this guy here to mainnet. So in that goes, and we are going to provide it with the long lanthanum hexaboride rods, which I'm level maintaining at 5,000. So there we go. That is this guy ready. So if we come down below now and turn everything on, so hopefully nothing explodes now. So active transformer turn on. Okay, that's all 4 of them turned on. Now what we can do is turn on 2 of the machines, or actually 3 of them. This one's redstone controlled. So these guys will not do anything and not consume power or coolant unless this guy here is inputting in the particle beam. And oh yeah, don't forget you need to connect your beam output and inputs with this beamline pipe. That's one step I forgot to show. But yeah, make sure you connect these together, and they're all like, make sure they're all in the straight line because this guy cannot bend or cross. So it has to be perfectly level. So same thing down here. Up here now, we can turn on our synchrotron and turn on our target chamber. So how are we going to be setting up our recipes now? I've just removed everything from the laser engravers. So let's start with integrated logic. So integrated logic, if we have a look at the uses here for the mask, it can actually be used 100 times. It actually has durability. So what we want to do to not have partially consumed masks in the system, we are going to make this whole recipe consume this entire mask. And I just realized I'm using the wrong wafer here. So Americium wafer with this guy right here. This guy has 100 juices. So we're going to increase our wafer input by 100 and our output will be times by 100 as well. So each time we request integrated logic wafers, we're going to be crafting 12,800 of them. That's a lot of wafers. So if we put this in here and request it now, so if we look at wafer, integrated logic, it says it has everything. And also the mask recipes are pretty straightforward. The tier 1 is just iron quartz plate, which is just quartz and iron dust, oxygen in an autoclave. And tier 2 ones are a little bit more complicated. There's a few more other recipes I had to set up in the chemical lines. But if we just look in here now, here is our wafers. We come all the way over here now. We can see the source chamber is turned on. We should see the Linac did not turn on. Oh, I forgot to connect right here. This is one cool thing about this as well. Even though these guys might power fail, we'll never actually lose the inputs unless this guy power fails. So that's pretty nice. So the synchrotron should turn on now in a second, unless the recipe's already finished. Is it already done? It is. Oh my god, that was so fast. 18,000 in like a few seconds. Let's do that again and actually watch it actually consume it live in the bus. So wafers are in. Should only take about 3 seconds to reach the target chamber. Gone. Oh my god. This thing is fast. Right. I need to do the same thing for the other ones and finish setting up the patterns here. So yeah, let me go do that and then we'll see if we can craft ourselves our second UHV capacitor. Oh yeah, we're actually upwards over 133 trillion EU now. So we can easily turn on wireless mode and upload some power. But we'll do it once we have the second one. All right, all the patterns are set up. So now if we were to look at the recipe for the UHV capacitor, if you remember, it was like 98,000 indium. It is now only 4.5 thousand indium. That is a massive discount. Oh my god. We went from 98,000 down to 4,500. That is amazing. I'm not going to start the craft right now because there is something else I want to do and I'm hoping I have the time to do it. And that is we're going to be upgrading our circuit crafting speed. Right now, the way we craft circuits is very slowly through like these single setups of circuit assembly lines. Well, apart from building the beamline, I've also done a lot of work back here. This is going to be our new circuit crafting room. And I have built so many circuit assembly lines. And this can be expanded by a lot. Mainly down the way. So there is 16 circuit assembly lines per chunk right here. And I can keep going down all the way down to bedrock. Like this entire room is cleared out. So I have a lot of space to basically just set up like as many of these guys as I want. Now, the way we're going to be setting these guys up is slightly different to how we set these guys up before. These guys were set up using storage buses with priorities. Since there's nothing else that can be crafted inside these guys once we imprint it with the circuit, we can actually use stocking input buses and filter the exact items that will be used in the circuit craft. So I have here from LV all the way up to UV, because UV is the highest tier of circuit that can be crafted in a circuit assembly line. After that then needs to be done in an assembly line. And right here, I've got myself 18 advanced assembly lines. Now, the advanced assembly line, I have no idea how it works. It's built the same way as the regular assembly lines, but it functions slightly differently. It says something about consuming all of the fluids at once, and then it works per slice all the way down. And the amount of parallels you get is the amount of item inputs you have. So this one here is a length of, I think, 10. So there will be a parallel of 10. And the cool thing about the advanced assembly line is it can support target hatches or laser hatches. So I have an LSC right here, which is receiving power from our main LSC as well, or second main, which is connected up using infinity wire and 4 64 amp energy hatches. So hopefully that's enough power to run this thing a few times. So what I'm going to do now is set up an item subnet here, similar to how we're doing the Beamline one as well. We're going to have dual kissing interfaces, and that will pump the items in to be stored. And then all of the stocking input hatches will be on the subnet, and they'll be filtered to pull from a separate storage, not linked to the mainnet. And that way, we'll just input in all the items it needs, and then this guy will say, oh, we have our items, start crafting. So let me go ahead and set up a subnet and I'll show you how this thing functions. All right, the subnet is set up and I just went ahead and imprinted all of the circuit assembly lines with the microprocessor, which is the LV circuit. Yeah, with this setup, I do need to imprint every controller, so that's kind of annoying. So I have a lot of controllers to imprint, but I just used my master manipulator and just copied over the controller setup, so I still need to wire it up underneath, but yeah, so over here, we have a ME drive. So this is where the items will be stored. And because there's only one type of fluid used in the circuit assembly line, we're just using this one here, which only has one type. So yeah, there should be plenty of storage here to craft thousands of circuits at a time. So we have here some wireless connectors on an ME controller so that we can connect up all of these guys. I believe there should be about 28 connections per wireless connector. So we should have enough channels here. So if we reach back here, grab that one, connect it to this one, and then that one to this one, and then these two. And now if we use our network scanner, we can see barely, but yes, 28 connections per assembly line setup. So that's cool. So what we want to do now, since the controller is the first slice right here, we can input in our first item. So to make ourselves microprocessors, this is the recipe we use right here. Wrapped plastic circuit boards, wrapped SOCs, 4x copper wire, and copper bolts, and also some soldering alloy. So in here, wrap the circuit boards. In here, then wrapped SOCs, 4x copper wire, and then the bolts. And then in the back right here, if I could just barely reach it, is a stocking input hatch, and that'd be where the soldering alloy goes. So instead of having to copy that for every single one of them, if we grab out a data orb, we can actually copy all the hatches to this guy and then paste them very easily. And that is done just by punching the controller, and it is saved the multi-block hatch configuration. So now, for example, we right-click this one, it'll paste it in, and if we look at our stocking inputs, it is pasted in what we already set, making it so I don't have to go to each and individual one and manually filter it. So I can just right-click every single one of these guys, and there we go. Everything is now filtered. As for power, we're just providing this guy here with one UHV energy hatch, and they're being double shared. There should be plenty of power here. And this should be very fast anyway. So if we come over here, I did actually remove the controller over here. So I didn't actually have to make full 16 imprints. I only had to make 15 because this one was already imprinted. So if we come beneath right here and grab our microprocessor pattern, we need to modify this slightly. Mainly just increasing the inputs. So if we come here to patterns, check this guy right here. Make sure he is set to the right one. And we're just going to double this all the way up to, let's just say, 32,000 microprocessors at a time. So right here, we have a dual interface. This bottom one here is on the main net. The top one here is on the subnet. So we don't need blocking mode in here because all the items are going to be stored and they're all filtered right there. And then at the back right here, we actually have another dual interface on the main net kissing a storage bus. This storage bus is filtered to the microprocessor and is set to insert only. That way, all the items that will be exported out through the output bus right here will be actually sent back to mainnet instead of being stored inside the subnet. So I guess all we have to do now is actually request it. So microprocessor and request, it should craft us everything we need. Yeah, it's going to craft all the masks. Yeah, I talked about the masks a little bit, but yeah, the substrates are made in laser engravers. This is made in a blast furnace. This is made in autoclave with selene. Selene is just a chemical recipe, which is just raw silicon and hydrochloric acid. And selene nitrogen plasma mixture. I need to make some nitrogen plasma, which is done in a fusion reactor with deuterium, molten beryllium. And that's just mixed with selene and that makes this substrate. The substrate then can actually be used for a few other recipes. Let's just start that. And if I look up mask here, you can see there's a lot of masks. So there is a tier 2 black mask, which is made in a blast furnace using lithium chloride and potassium hydroxide. Potassium hydroxide is just water and potassium in a chemical reactor. And then Mark 3 requires this etched mask, which is this reactive ion etching mixture, which is just made in a mixer with fluoroform and oxygen. Fluoroform is just hydrochloric acid and chloroform, which is chlorine and methane. I'm actually kind of struggling to get more chlorine again. I need to go reset up my fluid drills on Europa for salt water. But maybe we don't have to do that soon. I might be able to use the space elevator for pumping. And I think the last one out of this then is the crystal mask, which is lithium hydroxide, epoxide pulp, and that etched mask. Lithium hydroxide is just a multi-block dehydrator with lithium hydroxide. Lithium hydroxide is lithium 7, which is made on a laser engraver with a diamond lens, and it's just oxygen and water. So I have all that being level maintained, so we can craft these guys whenever. So how's this guy doing? We're just waiting on our PCB factory to craft all the circuit boards. Yeah, I've actually even upgraded the energy hatch on this guy. I think we had it 256 amp ZPM. Now it's a 256 amp UHV. So it does make like hundreds of circuits at a time. Like this one here for plastic is making 1.3 thousand. So once we get nanites, we'll have cheaper recipes and unlock the parallels. So yeah, that'd be really cool. Okay, the last of the circuit boards are being crafted. I want to see how fast this everything is. Also, I want to turn on batch mode. And there they go. 8,000 microprocessors at a time. Only about 4 of these guys got turned on. And boom, 32,000 LV processors in like 2 minutes. It only takes like a second to craft, but it takes like 2 minutes to craft everything to craft the circuits. Oh my god. So I guess I might as well go set up the rest of these guys here. The only actual circuit assembly line I haven't got set up right now is actually for ULV circuits, which will be done right here. I'm just waiting until I can remove all of these guys and repurpose them for the ULV circuit assemblers. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and set up the rest of these all the way up to UV, and then we'll talk about the UHV's advanced circuit assembler right here. And there we go. All of the circuit assembly lines now are operational. So there was 1 or 2 recipes I did actually have to adjust, and I think that is for Ivy. We now can use this wrapped crystal SOC's recipe. So yeah, this makes it a lot cheaper. As for wetware LUV circuits, which is the best tier of LUV circuits you can craft, since now we can craft living circuits inside of our Beamline, we can use this recipe, which is really nice. And we also have cosmic neutronium, so that's no problem. So everything here is set up. The only issue with this is it's still going to take forever to craft BioWare circuits. Our main bottleneck for that is crafting these bioprocessors. So I'm going to attempt now to upgrade temporarily these guys to advanced circuit assemblies and see if it works. So I have a bunch of circuit assembly lines here, and I want to replace all of these now and then remove the energy hatches and replace them with 16 amp UHV ones, and hopefully that is able to craft them a lot faster. I shouldn't need to adjust any of the inputs settings, since this thing just works the exact same way as a regular assembly line. So hopefully this works now and it's faster. Okay, and now let's upgrade the energy hatches. I'm going to probably have to replace all this cable here with infinity cable. Okay, everything's been upgraded and we are now giving it 16 amps of UHV power. So hopefully this actually can craft our bioprocessors a lot faster. So let's test it. So if we look up bio, wait, did I just say no data sticks found? Oh, do I need to like reconnect these guys or what's going on? Please don't tell me this is like another issue. Maybe it'll work once I turn it on. If not, then we have a problem. All right, so bioprocessors, craft me 100 of them. Let's see how long this takes. Hopefully this data stick issue fixes itself. No, it doesn't. Okay, hang on. Okay, so it's actually the next day. I had the video fully recorded, but unfortunately something happened and the video got corrupted at the end. So I'm actually back here now in the future to re-record the ending because it messed up. So I think where before it got corrupted is we upgraded the assembly lines here to the advanced ones to try and craft ourselves bioprocessing units faster. Yeah, that did not work. It didn't craft them any faster. So what I've done is I've swapped these guys back to regular assembly line controllers, mainly because the advanced ones can't do tier skipping. So I have to use the regular ones with 2 UV energy hatches to be able to do UEV recipes. But down over here now, this guy here is fully configured and set up. So UHV circuits are crafted in here now, and all of the stocking inputs are set up the same way as these ones. So all the recipes now are just sent into the back here through a dual interface and then stored using a storage bus. If I can somehow access the pattern. So I've set it up to craft 64 of these guys at a time. And as for crafting BioWare processors, I've actually got a dedicated system down here. So this is set up, all of these guys are basically set up the same way. So in here, our inputs have been set, and it is very fast. The only issue is power delivery over here. We don't send enough power, but it's actually the next day, and I've had these guys running for a while. I've managed to actually craft 2 more UHV ultimate capacitors, and I've just finished crafting 20 more of these Lapatronic UV ones that I was going to use to set up mass storage for our space elevators, but I guess we could use them in here. So just to show how fast we craft ourselves our UHV circuits now, let me request a whole 64 stack. So all the inputs are in, and in here it says it's going to take 64 seconds, but it actually doesn't. It'll reset once it hits 6. Boom, now it's reset. And if we look in the controller here, it's showing different slices. There's 10 slices, that says here, because there's only 10 inputs, meaning this guy here is only going to get 10 parallels. And every time it reaches 6 seconds, it resets, but a new slice is activated. And before you know it, this thing is crafting all your circuits in like a few seconds. Like, this thing is incredibly fast. And if I can increase the energy hatch even further, now that we have wireless power over here, well, once I install the capacitor, yeah, this thing should be very, very fast. All right, so slice 10 is activated. So every 6 seconds now, we're going to get a circuit. Yeah, look how fast they're coming in now. We're getting like one every few seconds, and it's so fast. So every 6 seconds, I think we get one per how many assembly lines I have set up. And I think I have 6 of them running right here because there's not enough power to run the other ones. So all 6 of these guys right here are crafting us circuits. And look, we're already up to 30 of them. And we had 6 to begin with. So yeah, every 6 seconds, we make 6 circuits. So yeah, it is fairly fast. And in the future, when we need to make more, which we will, we'll be able to upgrade the energy hatches and set up even more of these guys down the way, like I said, with over here. And oh yes, to run these guys, they do need the data stick. So I have some data banks connected up underneath to provide data. We're not close enough yet just to get cloud ones yet. I think they're called wireless receivers. I think I need the next tier of circuits to get them, and that requires the space elevator assembly to craft it, and I believe they're called optical circuits. So not the cloud computation, it is this one here, the wireless assembly line reception connector, and it requires UIV circuits, and the UIV ones we need to craft are these optical mainframes, and I think this is the highest tier of UIV circuits because these guys do not have recipes. So UIV optical mainframes is the highest tier of UIV circuit we can craft. And that is all crafted in here. And if we come back here now to the first one, which is the final tier of the UV ones, it requires this perfected CPU and optically compatible memory. All of these are crafted in a space assembler. And this is a random recipe. This thing is probably not the way we're supposed to do it, but yeah, they actually know it looks like we are going to have to do it this way. So we do need grade 7 water to be able to get this. So yeah, and I think we're also going to need the solar factory and our nanites. So yeah, we won't be doing this for a while, but we'll definitely look into preparing everything. But once we have these optical circuits, we can have wireless reception hatches on this thing, so we don't have to be running cables and having multiple data banks. Let's install our ultimate capacitor over here. So let's grab out one of these guys. We're going to install it right here. Hopefully that didn't break. And our capacity now is massive, but we don't need this connection cable back here anymore. So to do this, we just need a screwdriver. We'll enable wireless mode, and this guy shouldn't do anything just yet. So he's going to be losing power because now with a UHV capacitor, we have a passive loss of 1,000. And if we come over here now to, I can get to power gen, we can turn this guy on, and all that power I just had has just been uploaded. If you look down the bottom right, we're back down to 60 trillion, and all that excess power I had has been uploaded now. So if we do /GT, global energy display, and then our username, we can see there is 2, I don't know, quadrillion EU in our network. That's how much power we've uploaded now. So if we come back over here to circuit crafting, or over to the beamlines, and come down here and have a look in this guy, he's probably not after doing anything just yet. So we are looking at this. Yeah, okay. I don't know if we're actually going to see it that well, but I guess this 34 right here, 634, should become 644 in 5 minutes, I think. That button did nothing. There is a button there that allows you to rebalance once, but I'm going to wait 5 minutes and see if this turns from 633 to 643. Oh, okay. I think 5 minutes has passed because this jumped from like 600 to this random E13 number. Okay, so now if I do the command again, damn, actually a lot of power got downloaded. 683 to 635. So that's a lot more than 10 billion EU. That was something nearly like 4 billion or 40 billion. Is it billion? I don't know. It's a lot of power. So with the amount of power in there now, we should have no issues running all the beam lines simultaneously. So yeah, that's amazing. So I can even install one down here in the Kevlar line and increase that guy. And actually, I've been doing a lot of work because I thought the episode was over. And I finally ran a laser cable over here to increase the speed of our biolabs. Because waiting for all this biocatalyst to craft more of these is taking so long. And lapis is also another bottleneck, but there will be better recipes for making these energy clusters using a space elevator. So yeah, that is amazing now. So now we have wireless LSC power, and it's so good, but it's also causing a bit of a strain on our fuel generation because we're constantly running the reactors now. So yeah, that's a problem, but that's something I will try and fix. So next episode, we're going to be getting ourselves a space elevator. I need to do a little bit more research into that and understand how it works. It does need computation, so I need to somehow set up a quantum computer over there, but we'll figure that out next episode. So yeah, I'm going to call it there. Hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and hit that notification bell while you're at it then as well. So without any further ado, goodbye.